Tell you that in November, our next lecture will be on November 12th, and my buddy Joe Engler runs a website that's historicevansville.com, and it's a wonderful website and resource for doing research, and Joe will be there to talk about his website, but also to sign copies of his new book, Evansville Historic Postcards. And this is his first time that he's been published, and we'll be selling the books here, and you can buy a book from Joe, and he's going to talk about this as well. So I hope that you'll consider joining us on November 12th for Joe's lecture. The Karges Furniture Company is one of the oldest continuously operating businesses in Evansville. There's a few of them, like Shetler Moving and Storage and Pearl Laundry, that are continuously owned by the same family. And they also operate out of a historic building. I believe that the company has always been in that building, and I thought that that was very interesting when we were there recently, that aspect of the historic building. Also, a lot of the tools that they use are very old metal tools that I guess have very specific things that they're supposed to cut, and I think that a lot of that hasn't changed at all. It's fascinating to me the way that they do business with people from around the world, people in Russia, people in Asia, people in the Middle East, that those people come here to Evansville to do business with them. A lot of people in Evansville seem to not know much about Karges furniture. You know, they don't sell it here in Evansville, but it is truly, truly some of the finest furniture produced anywhere in the world today. When we toured the factory last year with our docents, when you go there and you see the people that work for them, you have such an appreciation for it. I realized on that tour that those people are truly artisans and that they cannot be replaced by a machine. To train somebody to do what they do, you have to use your eyes and you have to use your hands and you have to touch it. And it's just amazing the way that they produce that furniture there. And if you go there, if you ever have the opportunity to tour the plant the way that we did, it is fascinating. I hope we can arrange another tour like that someday. Gretchen's here to talk to us about her family's company. You know that she's the 5th generation to work in that company. Her mother, are you the CEO, Joni? Her mother runs the company now. She's the 4th generation. And we thank you very much for agreeing to do this, Gretchen. When she's done, she can take some questions and then we can all go upstairs and we can chit-chat informally around the beautiful Karges table up there. Take it away.
Thank you, Karen. Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Matt. As Matt said, I am Gretchen Keith. I am the 5th generation of the Karges family. And my mother and I now are the sole Karges at the Karges family. I'm sure our ancestors are probably rolling in their graves because women are, but they raised us women, so you know. The company was started. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we came to be and how we've managed to make it for 126 years now. It was started by my great-grandfather, Albert Karges. He was a businessman. He kind of had his fingers in a lot of different things. He started out working for his father, who was a German cabinet maker. I think he made something like $1.50 a week or something. He worked there for a while, and then he left there to go work as a bookkeeper for a gentleman named Henry Stoltz. And after working there for a little while, in 1886, he went into partnership with Stoltz to form the Karges Furniture Company. And at the time, I believe Stoltz was the president and Albert was the vice president. And that didn't last very long, and he decided to, he and 2 other gentlemen, a gentleman by Mr. Bachsteggy and a gentleman, John Jordan, I believe, bought out Henry Stoltz. And they then really started establishing the Karges Furniture Company. And at the time, Karges made economically priced hardwood furniture, mostly bedroom pieces. We were one of, I think, 40-something furniture companies in the Evansville area. There was hardwoods here. There was German immigrants who were, great cabinet makers. We were on the river, so it was a prime place to be a furniture hub. So Evansville, just like Grand Rapids, Michigan was a very good place to start a furniture company. Give me the next slide, Karges, evident from what I read, Karges was one of the major manufacturers in the area. We shipped to South America and South Africa and all over the world. So Karges was really up and coming for the furniture industry. And so in 1889, the three gentlemen purchased land on the corner of Park and Maryland Street, which is where we are now. And this is the original group of men from 1899, and Mom always said the gentlemen in the front, they're little boys, in the front were the beer carriers, and they would go get the beer and pass it in on a bucket through the doors so the men would keep working. And if we had beer boys now, I bet they'd just keep working.
So they didn't have to work at the brewery.
That's right. That's right. So this is the original gentleman. The two men with the little hats in the front, one is Box Stady and the other one is Albert Karges. So that was really our beginning. And the next slide, I believe, shows our building. And that is still the building. And as Matt said, you come in and it is, you can believe that it's the building from 1890. It is a rickety old building, original wood floors. My husband does maintenance and safety. He doesn't have quite the romance with the building as we do. It's not so efficient, but it is a very cool place. So if you ever get an opportunity to come for a tour, it's a very neat place filled with old and new machines alike. And so it's quite neat. And then in the early 20s, Albert's son Edwin wanted to come into the business, and this was Edwin Sr., my great-grandfather. We called him Pop. Everybody at the factory called him Mr. K. And his dad did not want him to come into the business. He wanted him to go to business school and do his own venture. And Pop, though he did end up being very good at business, he was an artist, and he loved European design. He had traveled throughout Europe and fell in love with the beautiful shapes of all of the European furniture that he had seen there. And so his dad finally relented and allowed Pop to come and work at the factory. And though we still continue to manufacture the traditional American furniture, it did start to sway a little bit to a little bit more of a European design, a little bit more curves, a little bit more Louis XVI, Louis XV influence compared to that solid American shape that everybody else was doing at the time. Gradually, we began to break from the mold a little bit more and a little bit more. I'm sure he was pushing his dad to say, and his dad, from what I gathered, didn't want to change a lot, but he did begin to give him some try at some different design, and slowly we began to change from what everybody else was making at the time. And of course, the Depression came, the 37th flood came, and miraculously this strange little company kept trucking along. In our basement you can see the line where the 37th flood was, and my grandfather said that Albert died soon after the flood, and that it really destroyed him. It was so devastating at the time. So at that point, my great-grandfather continued with the company, and then my grandfather, Eddie Karges, that we all know, Ed Jr., he came to the company after World War II. He had been a fighter pilot in Italy during World War II, and came home, decided to be in the business of the furniture. Yet he chose to go to University of Michigan and study wood technology before he came full on into the company. And I don't know if that degree is even offered anymore, but through that he learned things about wood that you never imagine. He could stretch wood to the capacity that we do today, and he developed our finishing process that then again stepped us into one more step above what everybody else was doing. He knew everything you could possibly know about finishing furniture, and when he established the finishing process, when he came, it moved us forward, and that is how we finish furniture today. And still today, even at the highest price, other manufacturers, nobody's finish compares to what ours does. The clarity, the depth, and everything that he was able to establish through that process is matched by none other. And so Eddie, with his father, who was by that time designing a lot of traditional European furniture, still today in our line we are about 40% of my great-grandfather's designs. And that pulled us yet again away from what the mainstream was, and probably at that point was the deciding factor to make us survive still today when there's so few manufacturers. Nobody else does it this way. It's complicated furniture, it's exquisite design, and Pop's idea was to look at old antiques, look at all of the old design, and do his interpretation. So it wasn't an exact replica, but it had all of the influence and all of the rules of traditional design, but it was still his own designs. And that, with my grandfather's finishing, made it a very complicated, very expensive, intricate piece of art that we were making by that time. And with that came the necessity for hand carvers. And so my great-grandfather and grandfather hired Greek and Portuguese carvers to come to Evansville to train our artisans in the fine craft of hand carving. And it was what nobody was doing. You know, everything had been machine carved, yet sanded and very well done, but it didn't have the chisel marks, it didn't have the depth, it didn't have the clarity that the carvings do with a hand chisel. And so, yet again, it did add cost to the price of the furniture, but it made us different from what everybody else was doing. And, you know, they decided if you're going to do it really well. And so everything was made by hand, everything was finished by hand. It takes weeks to finish a piece of furniture, it takes months to build a piece of furniture. And it's all run through in the way that we know best. We do have some machines, we do have some newer machines, but still it takes an artisan to know exactly how much of that machine you can use to get the product that we get at the end. Here's an example of some hand carving that shows the clarity. This chair is knocked off a lot in China and Vietnam and several areas around the world. But when you stand up close, my grandfather said some people have 50-foot furniture, some people have 20-foot furniture, and we have hands-on furniture. You can get all the way up to it and know that that wasn't done by a machine. It was made the best way that we can possibly make it. And then after many years of working with her father and her grandfather, my mom came along, and Joni Karges Roger, and she added yet another layer of knowledge to the company. She's always had a love of language. She had been studying for several years at USI for the Japanese language just because she loved language. And little did she know, when she came to be vice president in 91, she had been there for several years, but she became vice president in 1991 after my great-grandfather had died. And Karges was struggling yet again. You know, orders were low, business was rough at the time, which was one of the woes of the furniture business. And at the time, we were showing our furniture in a showroom in North Carolina during the furniture market. And in 1992, when we weren't sure how exactly we were going to go forward, we've been in that spot a few times. And I guess in 126 years that happens. But this great company comes in, several gentlemen come in from Japan. And fortunately for us, they very much appreciated and recognized quality and craftsmanship. And after looking underneath and inside of and everywhere they could possibly look on a piece of furniture, they decided that Karges was a good fit for them. And that was in 1992. The company was Daimaru out of Japan, and still today, we have been doing business with them. It is a trusted, respected, well-established relationship. We've been together for 20 years now, and they still come and visit us, and they praise us for 126 years, and I think they're like 300 years old. Oh, you guys are so good for laughing. But thankfully, there are companies and people that do respect and recognize that what we do is a step above, that it's not disposable furniture, it's not mass-produced furniture, it can't be made quickly, and it can't be made cheaply. So little did Mom know that her language skills that she had studied for 3-4 years were going to come into play with this company that happened to walk through, and still today I have to say, tell them this, because she knows it and I don't. I can speak English and Kentuckian, basically. There's just a little difference. And then in 1995, fortunately, my grandfather and mother allowed me to come along. I had graduated with a culinary arts degree, had worked as a chef for several years, and then realized if I wanted a family that I wasn't going to work during holidays and every weekend and every night and make any money, I was going to have to find a different career. So actually I thought this would be a temporary thing until I figured out what I really wanted to do. And now I've been there since 1995, 17 years later. But I started in customer service, and fortunately, you know, I thought when I went in there, I don't know anything about this. I've never worked in this kind of a thing. I mean, I had stuffed brochures for summer jobs and Christmas jobs, but that didn't really count. But I had grown up in it, and I had been around the furniture and had seen it and touched it and felt it and recognized the pieces, knew a lot of the employees that worked there, and several of them running around sitting on their desk and playing with their typewriter and everything else. But it was a good fit, and I absolutely fell in love with it after a very short time there. So I worked in customer service for several years, and then was fortunate enough to work right alongside my grandfather and Mom as my grandfather's executive assistant. And we gleaned every bit of knowledge we possibly could from my grandfather. He knew so much about so many things, but really knew wood inside and out. And fortunately, we have a median age of our employees of about 17, seniority of about 17 years. So many people there they sucked him dry for information to get everything they possibly could. So out of 30 plus of us, all of us together make up one Eddie head. So we lost him in 2006, and then Mom and I continued on, of course, and are bound and determined to do this only the way these great men before us have laid it out. So it's just a little sliding. That is one of our newer pieces. That was actually designed. We have in-house designers. We have never purchased designs from the outside. And again, everything is an interpretation of different pieces that we have seen in wonderful old books and so on. And in our engineering department, we had a gentleman that he had worked several places through the factory. Everybody there, almost everybody there has been homegrown. And he wanted to take a hand at design. He had been piddling around and drawing some different things, and this was the desk that he designed a couple of years ago, and it's perfect for us. I mean, it worked out. It is very Karges and very us, and it's a great, great little piece. Each piece is still made to order, mostly sold through designers. It's a very complicated line, so with the different options of finish options, height options, interior options, the list goes on and on. It's almost always purchased through a designer who can then specify it. However, we have a long list of who's for people that have purchased the furniture. With the complexity of the furniture that then makes the price of the furniture, we're of course in like the top 1% of the income level of for our customers. Not everybody, but the majority of them. And so we have sold furniture to Clint Eastwood and Elvis Presley and Muhammad Ali and Christy Yamaguchi, and we recently had a picture of a bed, a headboard that was being sold in LA, and the headboard was Michael Jackson's headboard. However, it was the headboard that he had died in. So it's like, how do you market that? So went on from that. We didn't come up with an appropriate way to market that, but we do have a long, I remember working in customer service and getting an order from Miami, and the side mark to it was A. Garcia, and I asked the salesperson, she said, yes, it's Andy Garcia. But we don't always find out who it's to, but we do have, occasionally we'll have somebody say, oh, this piece of furniture is for so-and-so. So, I mean, that's always fun. One of the things that makes us unique, because we make everything by hand, we can do custom. We can make it bigger, taller, longer, and we're restricted by the customer's imagination, and in an 11-foot elevator. So we can make your custom table 200 feet long, but it has to be an 11-foot section. So far, that's been okay for us. But we do. On the next slide, I believe, no, that's another one of our pieces. That was my great-grandmother's. So here's a custom piece. It was two curios they wanted a bridge in between. And through all of the hard times that the furniture industry saw, we saw a horrible exodus of all manufacturing, but the furniture industry that we could see up close went to China. And so this very expensive handmade product that was already quite a price point above everybody else, when it went to China and you saw the seas of furniture coming over from China, we couldn't compete with that. I mean, it made our furniture look ridiculously priced because we were still paying in-state wages, we were still making everything by hand, we were still looking by local, vendors. So it wasn't a price competition. We could not do that, but we could still do customs. And we could make it any way that they wanted. And I think that is part of the reason why we were able to survive over, especially the last 10 years. Because we can do what a lot of people won't even look at, because we don't have an assembly line. We make everything by hand, and though custom does cost more than our standard pieces, because we are able to mill the parts for our standard pieces, it's say 6 at a time. For a custom piece, we have to do everything from scratch, so it does cost more. But there's always that customer who wants what he wants, no matter what, and we can give that to him. So the next piece, I believe, is a custom finish, same style of curio that you saw. These pieces were so gorgeous, they were going to LA, that we fell in love. The finish looked like a car finish on them when it was done. It was a custom finish. And so we introduced it into our line, and a lot of times we will see a custom piece going through, and it's gorgeous. A lot of times we'll see a custom piece going through and think, what were they thinking? But a lot of times it'll go through, and it's absolutely beautiful, and we'll add it to the line. It'll be something that we had not thought of. Well, that's a great idea. So that's a good example of that.
So is that painted wood with silver leaf?
It is silver paint with gold leaf.
Wow.
Silver paint, and they looked like two jewels. And I mean, they were absolutely, the picture is just a snapshot in the factory, but they were absolutely breathtaking. And of course, there's lights on the inside and a mirrored back, and they were absolutely gorgeous. As I said, the furniture market moving to China. 9/11, we shipped lots of furniture overseas. Middle East has always been a wonderful client of ours, South America, Russia, really all over the world. The only area that we don't sell much furniture to is in Europe, and I believe it's because they have the originals. They have the antiques. Yet we are seeing some activity because some of those antiques, the drawers won't open anymore and so on. So, but in general, the Middle East has always been good. We make big furniture. We can make it as elaborate as you want. We can make it as long as you want and so on. After 9/11, that business really went away. And we've seen it come back, fortunately. But, the Chinese move of the furniture, the 9/11, and then of course the recession. And we saw some vendors go out of business. And we just weren't sure, are we supposed to be doing this anymore? Is anybody going to appreciate what we do? And fortunately, this year, tomorrow, we load our first container to China. It was a huge order. Came out of the blue, and we kept saying, we have phone calls all the time. Chinese telling us they want to sell us furniture. No, we want to sell you furniture. we make furniture in the U.S. We do not import anything from China. But we knew that somewhere there was a market for our furniture. And so we sold our first order to China, beautiful order to China. And in the coming months, we are going to be shipping furniture for a new showroom in Dubai. It's a trade showroom. It's hard to understand exactly how it all works together, but it's part government, part like their Chamber of Commerce, that it's going to be a large trade showroom, and they will have a beautiful Karges display that should be shipping soon. And, we had to make some horrible choices, ugly choices of, letting people go, tightening our belts like never before, pulling back hours. We've been at reduced hours for quite some time. But we knew that if there was still a handful of people that still appreciated what we're doing, still thought of this as a piece of art, people will drop $50,000. A lot of people will drop $50,000 for a car and scoff at a $3,000 lamp table that will last decades, if not even centuries. And if there's still a few people that are willing to make an investment in the antiques of the future, we'll keep doing what we're doing. And we feel that we owe it to, our community, our country, our employees, and most of all, our ancestors. There's a piece here. That's my little girl. She's not so little. Well, she's little, but she's 19 now, and it was held together so that I could be there. And so we feel if anybody's willing to do it, a lot of people would have thrown in the towel long ago, but if anybody's willing to do it, we owe it to everybody past us and everybody before us to continue doing what we're doing. And if we can't make it the way we're doing it now, we don't want to do it, because this is what we love to do, and this is the only way we know how to do it. And so we've decided we'll keep on keeping on until we can't do it anymore. And then that's another new dining room and great friend. So, and that's our story. As my grandmother said, we're stuck with it. Thank you.
Do y'all want to have questions? Do you have questions you want to ask Gretchen? We're so proud to have you in Evansville.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm proud to be in Evansville.
Evelyn Jr., your grandfather.
Yes.
Yes. Tell me about Joe Cole, his sister.
She, and Mom can correct me if I'm wrong, she married a gentleman who is an artist also.
Yeah.
And they moved, I believe it was right after World War II, they fell in love with Florence, Italy. And they moved to Florence and stayed and never came back.
Great.
And, know, she was an artist and he was an artist, and he did some of our painting for our screens for us, I believe, but then also put us in contact. We do purchase some of our chair frames from Italy.
Yes.
He put us in contact with the families, wonderful little families that are carvers that we do, also our hardware supplier. And he was like our Italian liaison in a place to visit. But he and Joan both have since died, but their son Giacomo still lives.
Oh, is there? A personal story about Carolyn.
We love those.
I went to Purdue with Carolyn. We were roommates. And Carolyn was an absolutely gorgeous lady.
She still lives.
She had white skin and deep auburn hair. She wore it in a big pompadour, and then it fell back to the waist. She was stunning. And we were there during wartime.
Right.
And during the war, wherever the servicemen were, they got the best entertainment. And we had Marines and Navy and Army and all kinds. So the best entertainment came to Purdue at that time. And the prom came along. Carolyn was the prom queen. She had a long white dress with a beef rat and hair. She was a dream. And Tommy Dorsey played at the prom. And at that time, Frank Sinatra, he only sang for Dorsey a few months, I understand, but he sang. And Carolyn was the queen. Yeah.
Wow. I'll have to ask her, see if you remember that.
She remembers.
Just curious about the order from China. Can
Yeah.
you tell us anything about where it's going? Or the
It is
people?
going to Beijing. It's a showroom in China. It's a furniture store showroom. And we were a little leery about it. We, I believe it was a little over a year ago. We had a Chinese company kind of courting us. They wanted to, sell our furniture. They sent a sales rep over. We took her to dinner, and we sent her catalogs and everything. And after months of all of this back and forth and talking, she says, this gentleman's name was Mr. Wang. She said, Mr. Wang has decided that your furniture is too expensive, and it would be best if you'd send some people over there, show him how to make it, and then everybody will pay for it. I said, no, that's not going to work. So then when this gentleman, who unfortunately is also named Mr. Wang, came forward, we thought, and we kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, and then his deposit came, and now and his balance has come, and now it's shipping, and he is a very honorable man from what we've known from doing business with him so far. So it's a huge order. It's a 40-foot container, and it's beautiful. In fact, that swan chair that you saw was actually one of his pieces. My dad was our photographer, did some shots so that they could use for advertising. So we really think when it gets there, they're going to fall in love with it. And so we hope to see many more orders from there. Yes?
Who gets to go to Dubai? You?
We don't know yet. Well,
Okay.
Mom and I
It's
are a
okay.
little nervous about the Dubai thing, but we know we'd be fine. We had some great students from the University of Evansville, from their international division, that came over and talked to us about marketing. And one girl had studied in Egypt, one boy was from Saudi Arabia, and I think 2 were from Jordan. I may be wrong on that, of what the combination was, but they kept saying, oh, you'd be fine in UAE, because we're saying, blonde hair and blue eyes, and I go to UAE, and they said, you'd be fine. Don't go anywhere else, they said. Stay in UAE. So we're still a little nervous, because the furniture isn't even made yet that'll be going there. But I think maybe in December, Mom and I will be going to Beijing for a whirlwind trip, because they want us there for the opening. So I we're excited.
Can you say something about the wood that you've been using over the years, and how your feedstock has changed, and where you're having to drive your woods from now?
We purchase our hardwoods from Bailey and Works here in Evansville, have for years and years. And then our veneers for our tables and, all of the figured surfaces, we purchase from a company in New Albany, E.M. Cummings. And we specify, when we design it, we specify what the wood will be, what the hard solids will be, and then what the veneers will be, and, how we want it, whether we wanted a pie match or a book match, whatever. And then they send us the veneers and the hardwoods, and then we cut it. But they kiln dry it all. We don't do any kiln drying at the factory.
Approximately how many pieces a year do you make?
I believe we're around 3,000 a year.
Wow.
And my sister-in-law worked at Kimball, and I think she said they ship like 1,000 chairs a day. When we have 10 of something, it's a 10-year supply. So it's, we don't ship a lot. We ship it well. So. Yes.
In the 1900s, early 1900s, Bossy Globe was one of our biggest production, mass-producing furniture factories in the world in Evansville, Indiana. So we were a big furniture factory probably because of the forestry around here. But how do you think that company, plus a lot of other companies, might have influenced your grandfather, your great-grandfather, and that whole milieu of furniture factories around here probably influenced a fair amount. Did he ever tell you, or your parents?
No, I never knew my great-great-grandfather, but my grandfather told me, I believe Albert did have either held some stock or something in Globe Bossy. He had ventures on, we find deeds to a place in Texas. I mean, he had stuff all over the place, so I think he wasn't, from what I gathered, he wasn't as in love with the furniture business as he wasn't making the money. And so it was more, that was just what he did. That worked in this area, so, that's just what I gather, because I never knew him. But then, I don't know if my great-grandfather saw that this many furniture manufacturers making the same kind of furniture can't last forever. That is part of what influenced that, or if it was just his love of the design. I'm not positive. Life had it our way, so I don't know what the thought behind it was.
If that's all the questions, then we can go upstairs where we have some light refreshments, a little bit of wine on our beautiful Karges table. Last year, we had a friend of the Wrights home who really wanted to see that Karges table and purchased the pieces from Karges, and then it was a gift to us from the furniture company that they finished all of the pieces. And they delivered it here, they assembled it in that room, and it's really transformed that room and how we use it, and it's so nice. So be sure to pay attention to it when you're up there. And I do encourage you to come up and look closely at the beautiful Louis XVI chair that's up here as well. And we can chat more informally with Gretchen upstairs, so let's go up there.
Karges symbol. You look 1886, celebrating 125 years last year. Today's date is 10/15/2012. And this is the symbol of the Karges furniture. This is one of their Louis the 14th chair. And look at the artisan work, the handmade carving here, the handiwork. Everything's handmade, as he said, just excellent workmanship. There is nothing machine made, it's all handmade. You look at the quality and workmanship that goes into chairs like this and all the furniture. And I'll read the epitaph here. It says, this beautiful hand-carved chair was designed in 1989 by then the house designer of Donald J. Burgess. It's upholstered in cream velvet and finished in a master paint finish with gold leaf trim Louis XIV style is also known as French neoclassical, popular 1750 to 1800. It's influenced by a new discoveries in the ancient Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum. The ancient Roman imitation can be seen in the restrained form and decoration in the fauteuil used in the fluted columns, oak and laurel leaf and wreath design. Just look at the workmanship of this chair. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then look at this is the Karges Furniture Company. You look at the family tree. This is the Karges Furniture Company, design in a family. Each generation brings something valuable. They all learn from another. This is daughter, Gretchen Keith and Joan Karges Rogier. Some of the handiwork, and you look at some of the workmanship here, just all hand done, unbelievable. And I'll read the epitaph of what it says here. It's a rare business that lasts a century. So when family furniture prospers for 5 generations, it's a taproot of skill, opportunity, and tradition that must run deep indeed. The Karges family members come by furniture making naturally. Fernandez Karges, the patriarch, a German immigrant and cabinet maker, arrived stateside in 1853. He headed to Evansville, Indiana, then a world center for hardwood furniture manufacturing, where he opened the furniture shop in 1859. In 1886, his son, Albert Karges, planted the seeds of the Karges Furniture Company, now Evansville's sole surviving furniture manufacturer, with a $600 investment, selling moderately priced solid oak and walnut bedroom furniture. Albert's son, Edwin F. Karges Sr., joined the firm after World War I. He developed Karges into a company it remains today, a source of superb handicraft designs. Inspired by 18th century European classics, his son, the late Edwin Jr., came into the business after World War II with a degree in wood technology from Michigan. He formulated Karges' proprietary finishes and shepherded the business through more than a half a century. Over the last 3 decades, Ed Jr.'s 4 children have contributed to the Karges' current company. President Joan Karges Rogier learned the business from ground up alongside her father for 30 years. A decade ago, she welcomed Gretchen Rogier Keith, her daughter, who just gave us the fine lecture on the Karges furniture. For the Karges Company family, from relatives of longtime employees making fine furniture as their legacy, as Rogier says, the only way to make the very best furniture in the world is the slow, careful, hands-on way. She adds, each generation brings something valuable, and they all learn from one another. What a fine thing to have in Evansville, Indiana. And this is the symbol of a Karges Furniture Company, close to a century and a half old. And this is their symbol. And Evansville has been the benefactor of such an artistic gift. This is the Karges Furniture magazine. It's a well-done magazine. And you look at the bottom, it says by hand. We have an industry in Evansville, Indiana, with 126 years of service that does by hand creation of different types of furniture. This is a very unique art. It's an artistic creation of functional material for our civilization, and we're very honored to have such a company of expertise with over 35 employees that work in an artistic fashion, creating some of the finest furniture that the world has known. One of the cabinets on the first page of the brochure, if you look at the all the handiwork, everything is handmade as described by our lecturer. a pristine dining room table with chairs, and you see the artisan putting a cabinet together. The table leaves, doors, drawers are unique to the piece of furniture, and in none of these pieces would fit any other type of furniture. And you see the craftsmanship of the table itself. Dining room table, and you see two of the artisans on the left doing some veneering and the layers of lacquer that are hand done. Just a very unique piece of art and furniture pieces created at Karges Furniture in Evansville, Indiana. You see the last piece, last artisan here up on the upper left, and these people deal with some of the most prestigious people in the world today that buy this furniture. You see the lady in the upper left where she's applying the finish. 6, you see cabinet in the bedroom or in the living room, and also a bedroom suite. You see just the finest wood, the finest material, and painting and lacquer. The range and flexibility of their line. You see the table, see the stand, and you see bookshelf there below the picture. Just beautiful pieces that are displayed all around the world. And you heard earlier different places that they're displayed. The artistry on this cabinet, all hand done. If you think of many different things, there's the artistry, handwork done before the lacquer is applied. If you think of this artistry, you think of a Stradivarius, you think of artwork on the wall, but these things are all functional parts of people's houses. And you see the cabinet, and you see the fine wood and the fine finish, again displayed on these two different pieces. A fine table there, as well as the artistry going in the corner of another table, and then the bottom picture showing the wood, but has the appearance of a marble top, gives the illusion, but it has the warmth of a wood top in the bottom right hand corner. These two chairs, the one that we displayed earlier, similar to the Louis XIV chair, and as it says here, since Karges Furniture, Evansville, Indiana, since 1886. And as in the writing here, it says the secrets of fine woodworking traveled from the old world with Ferdinand Karges, who opened the little cabinet shop in the 1850s. Now his great-grandson, Eddie, as stated earlier, passed them on to his daughter, Joan, and while yet a sixth generation, Gretchen learns from her forefathers' love of wood. Just a fabulous passing on of a tremendous art for the world to have. At the back of the magazine, you see Karges Furniture Company, 1501 West Maryland Street. You saw a photograph of the factory itself, and just a tremendous artistic creation for our